Hello and welcome to another episode of Easy8's Online Painting Club. My name's Danny, says it right down there at the bottom of the screen. I hope you've all been well since last week, where we had a really good turnout last week. There was loads of people watching and loads of people came and joined me afterwards on the Easy8 after party on Discord, which was really cool to hang out with all you guys. And there's been we've had more subscribers, we've had more people joining on Discord. The community's growing slowly but surely, and I think slowly is better. I think slowly is a more natural thing. I want it to be, I don't want it to be forced or anything like that. I'm not here to harvest the likes or anything like that. So it's been a really, really nice and productive week in terms of building the community. I haven't done an awful lot this week at all, apart from just a few bits and pieces here and there. More like just kind of tidying up the studio. A lot of work still going on the PC rig. Thanks to Kez, who's trying to join us there in the live chat. Thanks, Kez, for coming around and helping me sort out all my PC problems. It's been really helpful. We are still experiencing problems with probably the motherboard in my computer, which is really annoying because it's brand new, but it might mean that it needs to be sent back to where it came from, which when that happens it might mean that I won't be able to run the show for that week. But as and when that happens, I'll make sure that you guys are being informed, because I can tell you through Facebook on my phone right here, nice and simple. So yeah, if anything like that's going to happen, I'll let you guys know so you can keep up to date and in touch when I'm kind of not around. If you've been doing anything this week, or if you're starting a project this evening, do let me know. Drop it over there in the live chat, because I'm genuinely interested in what it is that you're doing. And if you're new here, you don't know what Easy8's all about, it's not a tutorial or anything like that, because there's loads of that stuff out there already. This is just a place where you can come along and paint your stuff, because like the sign says over there, it's a painting club, just online. So it's live, I'm here painting my stuff. I'm no pro, been doing it for a little while. I hope that I'm getting better. I think I am, but the idea is just to kind of get through that big horde of grey plastic that's never going to get painted, because we like to hoard stuff like that, don't we? I know, I've got one myself. Last week I had a lot of joy in the fact that I actually managed to finish a miniature. It's not the first one that I finished for a while. It's been the first one I finished actually live on a show, and I was really, really chuffed with the results. There's still stuff that I can improve on. I think I went a bit too far with a lot of the weathering techniques and things on there, but generally really pleased with it. And I've had lots of feedback from you guys out there in the community, so thanks very much for that. My weathered Martian robot, and he's looking really, really cool. Still got a few things that I think I need to sort of improve on, but otherwise it was a good show, and like I say, a nice turnout. Today I was going to go on and do sort of more Martian-y figures, but I've been doing a lot of Skitari stuff recently, and I kind of wanted to just change things up a little bit, and I haven't done anything on Tyranids for a while, so I thought today I would get on with a little bit of my proper horde, my first love, which is Tyranids, and just see if I can get through a lot of that backlog there, and hopefully you can kind of give me some feedback on the way. They are a little bit more done than what I thought. They've been in a little box the entire time since the last time I pulled them out, which has been months and months, and I thought that they were less done than what they are. So that's nice. That means less to do, but I was kind of planning on doing a lot of yellow dry brushing and grey dry brushing and things like that today, but I think that's pretty much done on most of them. But anyway, that's fine. I literally dug them out a few minutes before the show started. I haven't had a chance today to do it because my partner is poorly. You might hear coughing in the background. It's okay, there's no one being tortured or anything. She's just really poorly. But hopefully I've managed to limit my microphone so the sounds of the suffering is all drowned out for you. Anyway, if you are new here, do consider liking, following and sharing the community, the name within the community, make the community bigger. But of course, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to the show, because everything that you do, every little thing that you do makes it's a bigger impact at this end. So please subscribe. Just go and do it. Just subscribe. Go and find a friend and tell them to subscribe as well. And of course, before we get too far into this evening, I'm going to say hi to everyone in the live chat. I've got Jeff, who's my dad. Hi, Dad. Oi, oi. I've got Chris the Wolf. Hey-o. Hi, Chris. You were talking just a little bit earlier on today. Thank you very much for coming along. We've got Kes, hi, and Jeff's going, bugs. Yeah, I do like bugs. I do like Tyranid bugs. Do you know, I even like little bugs. I just don't like them in my house. Get out. We've also recently had a bit of a flood of popularity in terms of we got some new subscribers. One, literally a few minutes before the show went live. So this was literally about 20 minutes ago, from someone called It's Your Boy 123. I don't know if it's that's their name, It's Your Boy, or if I should say it It's Your Boy. I don't know. But I think I've covered all bases there. Welcome to the show. Thanks for subscribing. And do join in the live chat if you are watching live. And if you're not, do consider just kind of dropping in comments, because I read everything that goes in there, and there's quite a few people that watch retrospectively. retrospectively. That's the word. Anyway, I'm just going to get started. So I'm just going to take you straight over to the workbench. Here we go. So here's my little Tyranid. This is my little termagant. I call them a termagant or a termagant. You got the hormagaunts, which are the closer combat ones. They're like all claws. These ones carry little tiny guns. There's lots of selections and things that you can take for them. They're generally much bigger. These ones are smaller. The bigger ones are better, but they're also more costly. I think they look a little bit out of place on a model this small. So these were all pre-made. These were bought like second-hand in a big bag of them years and years and years ago, and they were all pre-made like these. But I like these little guns. I think they suit them quite well. The idea is that they're not particularly strong, but with enough of them, doesn't matter how many people there are in front of you, if you fire enough of these off, you're going to cause some casualties. Long enough for it to, slow the enemy down so that you can go in and send in the bigger stuff. These little guns are called flesh borers. They've got like a little beetle that lives inside them. They have like a little bioelectrical pulse that sends them shooting out of the gun. Fairly short ranges, not that short anymore though. And then the beetle basically goes through its whole growth cycle whilst it's going through the air, hits the opponent's target, and just eats until it expires, and it will chew its way through all sorts of armor and whatever fleshy components are on the inside of that armor. I think it's probably one of the more cooler descriptive weapons of the within the Tyranid sort of world. All of my termagants have these little guns. I've got about 20 of these, I think. This is just the first one that I've pulled out. So what I'm going to do, the first thing I do is get my little box. I'm just going to pull them all out and stick them all down on the tabletop and just have a look at the various states of completion that are on them. The yellow isn't as bright as it is on some of my more recent models, but that's because I've kind of refined my my sort of yellow palette, if you like. How I like to do the yellows now is quite different. There's a different shade on there, for example. These have all got Agrax Earth shade, the old style, and I now use Seraphim Sepia. That makes it look a little bit brighter, a little bit warmer, but I also apply it in a different way as well. I think that the yellow is exactly the same, but yeah, just the way that I do it just makes them look a bit brighter, a bit more warmer. And the one thing that I've obviously done a lot differently in recent months is the carapace, where I've got like a whole selection of different greys to use. I've been using inks for blacks and things like that on them. The reason I use the black ink is because I've notoriously had a lot of trouble working with Nuln Oil, and the fact that it spreads out too far, it goes too transparent, and it doesn't do pin washing the way I want to do. What I want to be able to use it for is really picking out the lower edges of the overlapping plates on its carapace, which if I bring it a bit closer, should be able to see. And it wasn't doing it for me, so I used ink shader through an airbrush. It takes a long time to dry, much longer than a standard paint anyway, which meant like a wet blend once I sprayed it on, and it really looks good on the bigger monsters. On these little ones, the amount of greys and what I do with the black is not going to be so important, because you just got to get through them, and I think less is more. I'm not going to use the same amount of greys that I do normally, so I'm basically going to paint them all a base grey, put the black on there, which I'm going to use the new recipe of Nuln Oil because I think that's much better. See how that goes for me. Do a little bit of dry brushing with a lighter grey, and then my highlight grey. I'm literally just going to pick out the edges very, very quickly and do a couple of those little lines that I've done in the past. I'm not going to spend as much time doing that because if I've got 20 of them, it's a lot to do, and it's still as many plates on each creature. So yeah, teeth and eyes have got to be done, and maybe a little bit of definition on some claws. Neaten them up as they go. This one's got a tiny bit of colour damage just here on the back, so a little bit of patchwork here and there. And of course their bases. I've tidied up a lot of their bases, I think, by neatening them up with the lighter grey that I like to use, but there's still a lot of work to do on them. So that's that. They've also got these little details here, if I point with the brush, on their back legs and on their middle arms. They've got these, I've never really known what to call them, but it looks like exposed muscle or just details. That I used to do orange. I think what I do now is I paint them like off-white, and then I stain them with a crimson wash, which makes them look pink and things like that. So yeah, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go through this box and see how many I've got to paint. I've got like a whole thing of them here, hormagaunts, look at them all, and termagants as well. Obviously filled with cat hair. What would a show be without cat hair? I don't know how that's got in there because this has been sealed. since I've got new cats in my house, but you know, cat hair, isn't it? So there's a couple more. Jeff says, I think I would use rippers, just rippers, thousands of rippers. It's funny you should say that. It was the rippers that I sat on my desk that inspired me to get these out. You, Jeff, for a birthday years and years ago, or Christmas, bought me a little box of rippers from Forge World, the ones that look like that there's hundreds of them on one base, because normally you just have like little individual models and you pop them on the base yourself, but these ones look like they're all crawling over each other. And I was going to do those today, but I decided not to because I know that I've got these to finish. So I'm going to finish these before I start a new one, because those other ones are not even started. The reason I haven't done anything with them is because I did try to mould them with silicone, and you can probably remember that while the silicone poured in really, really well and made a really good mould, pouring in the new resins, all their claws are so small that when you pour them out they just rip off. So any new ones that I would create using that process would just look stunted, and it would just be appalling, really. Even though they're really, really small, the colours that I choose especially would allow you to see their claws quite well, even though they're quite tiny ones. So yeah, I didn't want to have to repair all those hundreds and hundreds of little claws. So I'm just going to paint those little 3 bases up, and over time perhaps I'll buy more of them. They aren't cheap though, are they? So thanks for buying them for me. Anyway, here are all my termagants. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to do them in sets of 4 because I think they come in sets of 8. But let's see. Yeah, here we go. 4, 8, 12, 16. So less than 20, but still quite an amount to go. And they all seem to be in the same sort of state as one another. So that means I've kind of been working on them for a while. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give them a quick dusting off, because they might have little bits of cat hair or dust and things sat on them like that. Easy 8 dusting club. So let's just move all these out of the way. Right, okay, cool. Literally, yeah, just this brush is a little bit stiff because I use him for like putting white spirits and things in and cleaning up models when I'm doing grim dark techniques, and that's meant that the brush kind of got a bit stiff over the time. So it's a pretty good one. It's still quite soft. It won't damage the model unless I'm really vigorous. But it can pick up those, those hairs that never seem to kind of go away. They always seem to cling onto the model because they have like a little bit of stuck in old paint or something. Yeah, this brush is particularly good at shifting off sort of, ground in grub and dust. And it might also just be that it's just coming from the case, perhaps. One of the things that I wished I did before I started painting all my little Tyranid models, so because they are all second-hand, they're all given to me, is they've got like a lot of mould lines and things on them. You can only really tell where that is in some cases. This one has got a pretty pronounced one in its arm. A lot of the guns have got this on the front, on their arms sometimes. This one here, oh no, so on the previous one there's like a little bubble sticking off there, and I wish I spent the time to go and clean them all up. I'm not going to bother doing that now because I have spent so much time already having these guys half painted. It's time I just got them finished, right? So I'm going to go through all my models, just get them all painted. If there's anything glaringly bad that needs sorting out before I start painting it, then of course I'll do that. And then maybe once upon a time, when my army is all finished, perhaps I'll come back over the old stuff and redo them. I don't know when that'll be. Maybe when I'm into my 50s, perhaps. But we'll see how that goes, right? Because right now, what I need to do is just get things done. I've never known anyone to pull me up on all the little sprue lines and things, mold lines, when they've been on the table, and I use my little ones all the time. If ever I'm playing a game of Warhammer 40,000 with my Tyranids, I will almost definitely get my little gribblies out. It just depends on how many of them that I would use, depending on variety in the game. My Hormagaunts are my favourite creature. I just like the ice. It's very Starship Troopers, isn't it? Thousands and thousands of really fast leaping clawed things that won't attack you until they're up close, but when they're up close they're going to cause you a lot of problems. I like that. And And these ones are similar, but they engage at a little bit of a distance. And it's often that the Hormagaunts will get there first, because they're just really fast. Oh, I'll throw him, shall I? There we go. The Hormagaunts will get there first. They're really quite weak, but they'll dish out loads of damage, so they'll hurt you. You'll probably be engaged with them for a while before you finish them off. You know, through Overwatch, shooting them as they sort of charge at you, or just through good old close combat. You might just probably beat them all up, but they'll take some with them and they'll tie you up. Then these guys will probably come in as like a not necessarily a second wave, but a wave 1.2 if you like, and then they'll just sort of take more. They'll give you more losses. I'll probably lose them all as well, but then the big stuff's there. That's the plan, and it often works. If it doesn't, it's because the opponent's done a very good job, I have found. There we go, just a couple more to go. They're not actually in that bad condition. In terms of dust and fluff and hair and things. 2 more to go. One more. Here we go. It's quite therapeutic actually going through them all and cleaning them all up. I like it. If painting them was as quick, that would be lovely, wouldn't it? If I just hold them against a dark background with one eye, I can see the occasional hair that sticks up. On this one, for example, you can see there's quite a piece under his chin that, you know, was never cut off on the sprue. It's one of those things. Adrian Dean, greetings one and all. Hi Adrian, how's it going, mate? Nice to see you again. Thanks for coming along last week, and thanks for coming along this week. Now nice to get the gang back together again. Cool. Right, so all dusted. Yeah, I'm just going to put these over to one side, and I'm going to work on them. I'm going to bring them in one at a time. Let's get my cup of tea set up in the right place because it's off to one side. Do you know what? I'm going to have a cup of tea. Lovely. Adrian says, Jeff, rippers go grr, assault cannon goes brr. Yeah, it does. Yeah, that is one very good way of getting rid of lots of little gribblies, is lots of bullets really fast. Darren's come to join us. Hi Darren, thanks for coming along, buddy. Cool. Right, let's get these guys over here. So the first things first is it's going to be carapace, isn't it? Carapace today. I thought I was going to be doing a lot more with yellows today, but I suppose it's a good thing that I'm at this point, because it just means less to do, and it'll be sooner that I'll get them all finished. Right, it's quite a space they're occupying over here. I don't know where to put them. Let's move all this stuff over here. I'm not going to be using that today. Cool. Right, here we go. Start with this one. So, like I have done for the last couple of weeks now, I've been using a fixed focus on the webcam, because when I move across, it's quite a slow focus. It's a webcam. It's not a professional DLSR or anything like that. So if it is causing you problems and I'm holding it a bit too high and the focus isn't there, and if you want me to switch to an autofocus, I can do that, but just let me know, because you guys are watching. I'm here in real time, so yeah, just let me know what you think if it's not working for you. All right, cool. So let me have a look at my greys. I've got a whole selection of greys. It's been a little while since I've been through all of these, so let's just pull them up to the front again and see what we've got here. I have got Storm Vermin Fur, which I thought might be a good grey to use on some of them, and I've also got Skaven Blight Dinge. I don't use these on the carapaces. I do have Eshin, which is a layer paint. I've got another layer which is Administratum Grey, and I've also got Dawnstone, and they don't go in that order. This is the order they go in, from right to left. So this is my darkest grey, as you can see, working my way up to my lightest for highlights, etc. It looks like that the majority of all my greys have been done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ignore Eshin Grey today. I'll have it on the side if I need it. I can always jump to it, of course. I'm going to have a little look at Dawnstone. Some of these look like they are more sort of highlighted than others. Let me find a good example if I can. So here's one, for example, that looks like it's just brighter. If you can see that very well. So yeah, some of them I might need to do a little bit of dry brushing. I want them to be brighter than darker. So yeah, and my Administratum Greys, you can see, actually needs a really good mix. Look at that separating from the pigment in there. I'm going to shake them both up now, because I might want to use them not individually, but kind of both together at the same time. So give them both a good old shake. Jeff says assault cannon goes Bert, then the crew goes ah. That's what I like to hear. Shaking 2 paints at the same time. God, isn't he good? What a guy. Who is this man? He's Danny. It's like milking a cow, but wrong. Okay. Dawnstone. Gonna stick it on the Easy 8. Wazomatic. Shake my diffusers loose there. Really need to tie those diffusers into place. Give it a good old shake. Good old Waz. I wish the Wazomatic was closer to me. I have to lean right over my bench, as you can see. It's got a really short cable. Better than shaking it by hand all the time, though. Right, cool. That's that one done. And now for the Administratum Grey. I really like these greys. They are really good ones. Grey sounds like a dull colour because grey associated with boring, right? But actually, grey, as far as a painting colour, is really, really good to use. It's a really beautiful colour to work with, very easy to work with, very forgiving, really easy to get some blends, covers well, and works a lot of other colours quite well. I particularly like grey and orange, so like for example if I was going to do like power armor or futuristic armor or something, I'd probably paint it a sort of a lightish grey and then do accents and details in orange, for example. I've tried that before on some things. It's a beautiful colour to work with. Okay, so there's my Administratum Grey and there's my Dawnstone. I'm going to put my Agrax Earthshade away, even though that is the new recipe. Just going to put it over there. Not going to be using that today. I've got quite a few bits and pieces out on the workbench from last week, which all need to go away. I have got the new recipe of Nuln Oil. The shading does appear to be done on most of these, but if I lose some of that definition, or I still want to kind of fill it out a little bit, I can go to this paint here today. Cool. For those of you that wanted to see it, again, here is my Martian robot from last week. In all its completed glory. It's lovely, isn't it? I'm really proud of it. Quite a bit bigger than this Termagant. Cool. Anyway, he can go over there for now. Brilliant. Some more comments going in. Adrian says, I started painting my Spartan and I found that the Eshin Grey is a fantastic highlight for black. Pictures will happen once I finish the Spartan. Cool. That sounds really good. Love working with grey. Terrific colour, says Jeff. Yeah, it really is. I love it. Adrian and anybody else, for those of you that want to put pictures up on Facebook, Facebook is still in that place where it's not allowing you to put pictures up on the community tab or the mentions tab. I don't know why that is. I'm almost certain it's an error because it's always been something that we've been able to do. However, every week on Facebook I put up a schedule listing for the show. So what you can do is you can just kind of put up your pictures of your work in the comments to that post if you like. And I think that kind of makes it look nice, doesn't it? Because like that's everything that we're talking about week on week on. Of course, if you want to, you can also go to Discord for the Easy 8 after party, where a bunch of new people joined us last week, and you can put your pictures up in there. There's loads of different menus and things down the side, and you can just kind of find where you want to put your picture, and you can post it in there and talk about it as well if you want to. Also last week, some people did join us at Discord, and I didn't know that you were waiting in the sidelines to come and join in. I am really, really sorry that I missed you. I only noticed about 10 minutes after my video conference, it is a conference, with the rest of the team. So I'm really sorry if I missed you. And I know you're there waiting. I have replied to you in the typing. So hopefully you'll come and join us today. That would be cool. If not in the future, it'd be great to speak to you guys. So yay, let's get on with some highlighting. I'm just going to start with Eshin Grey, Dawnstone Grey. And I'm just going to choose an appropriate brush to do some dry brushing with. I want to keep it fairly short bristled. I want to keep it soft, yet with a little bit of rigidity in it. This one here has got a bit abused. He's a little bit rigid in the middle because some of the bristles in there are a little bit on the stiffer side. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clean that brush out with some brush cleaner and see if it loosens it up a little bit, because I think it's an appropriate size and shape, and I can just kind of go in here and just apply a little bit more highlighting. You can see that actually in some cases I've actually drawn some lines on him. I've just not done a very good job of it. I'm trying to rush him, like I say, and I don't want to rush these guys. I want to get them done quick, obviously, but I don't want to ruin them by rushing them. And I'm also looking at some other brushes that I've got here for dry brushing too. This is a particularly good one. Yeah. I don't have a dedicated set of dry brushes. I don't dry brush an awful lot, but obviously I haven't done Tyranids for a while, and it might be that I need to get some nice dry brushes. Artis Opus make some beautiful brushes, dry brushes, and Army Painter seem to have got a very similar set as well. So I know there's some of you out there have actually told me that you've got them and that you really get on with them. I have yet to get them because I was going to, but then I decided I was going to spend my money on some other bits and pieces at the time. Yeah, it is changing the colour of that foam there a little bit, so it is a little bit on the grubby side. Add a bit of water, get that soap to really kind of work into those bristles. Easy 8 washing club, lovely. There we go. And now just keep on applying bits of water, just pick all that foam up, and just through the act of constantly doing that, just works the last bits of rubbish out of it. There we go. Softened it up a little bit. I just think I've abused the brush really. It's never really been one of my ultra dedicated, neato brushes. And Darren says a blue wash over shaded grey looks awesome. Oh, I've never heard of that before. I have heard of like dry brushing black with blue, but washing black with blue, nice. Yeah, and Adrian says I've heard that old makeup brushes work well for dry brushes. Yeah, I've heard that too. I don't have any. I don't wear makeup. But yeah, I've heard that. Do you have a particular brand or style or anything? Yeah, actually, that's much softer. Like there were some coarse bristles all bunched together in there, but now they've all loosened up. And dry brushing with a slightly moistened set of bristles really helps transfer the paint onto the model and stops the paint from kind of drying in there and clumping, and it goes chalky, leaves a chalky sort of appearance on your model. So you don't want it to be wet, you want it to be ever so slightly damp. Stafford says I made it. Hi Stafford, thanks for coming along buddy. Yeah, so what I could do with, which I seem to have misplaced, is a piece of paper to wipe my dry brushing off onto. So what I'm going to do is get a new piece of kitchen towel. Here we go. I don't like using bright white paper on the tabletop here because my lights bleach it out and you can't see anything. Which is why I've always used the same piece of paper for like, spraying with airbrush. Anyway, let's get a little bit of grey on the end of these bristles here. Okay, quick test on the back of the hand. Right, here we go, first bit of paint on for the evening. Try to not go too mental, but also, try to get through it pretty quickly. Accuracy and speed. I don't want these carapace plates to be more black than they are grey. I want the black to be more representative of shadow. And my highlight grey will pick those edges out. Like that. That's it. That's really as far as I need to go. Again, working with a smaller model today, zoomed quite a bit far out, so do let me know if we're struggling. Because of the resolution that the camera works in as well, like I can't actually zoom in digitally anymore, so if I need to get in closer I need to actually move the camera, but I will do that for you because you guys are watching, not me. Hopefully you're watching. So yeah, there we go, working on to the head of the creature there, a little bit on the top of the gun because that's got little carapacey bits on there too. And as the brush starts to run out of paint, I just push onto it a little bit harder because I know that it's got a little bit of paint worked into the bristles. There we go. Because there's only a little tiny bit really in the paintbrush, I can be a little bit more aggressive. It doesn't really seem to bother the yellow so much. There is a little bit overspill from the last time I did it, but I can neaten that up later if it stands out too much. A little bit on his foot here. Cool. And that's really matted him down as well, because the previous paints I used have all gone glossy. Clearly I've used a Nuln Oil on him in the past, and that was one of the attributes that I didn't like about Nuln Oil. Okay, cool. There's one. Moving over to the next one. 15 to go. Cool. Some more comments going in. Adrian says, you might not wear makeup, but I'll bet your better half does. Incorrect. We both work in the outdoors, and in that environment, it's just more hassle generally. That's not to say that everyone in the industry doesn't wear makeup. My partner just doesn't wear it a lot. She does have some, but because she only has a few, because it's not part of her standard daily routine, she probably would notice. The other week, she's like, so Danny, where's my hairdryer? And I went, have you looked under the bed? So she went to go look under the bed, and I ran upstairs and grabbed it from last week, and she caught me. So yeah, I got caught. But she's actually very good about it. She lets me use that. But if I was using her expensive makeup brushes, I don't know. I might be trying to find a new home or something. Maybe my studio might get turned into her makeup room. I don't know. I see punishments on the horizon here. Cool. It's working actually really quickly, really effectively. I don't want to hang around on it too much. I don't care for hanging around today. Like I say, I'm just trying to get through it quickly. I was trying to get like, you know, maximum sort of effect. What projects is everybody working on this evening? If you are working on something, do let me know. Like I always say, I am actually genuinely interested in what the projects that you are working on. Are you working on something terrain-wise? Are you working on good old-fashioned bit of historical armour? Seems to be a favourite in the group at the moment. Or are you doing something more Warhammer-related? Or just sitting there chilling out watching? I appreciate all the company, regardless of what it is you're doing. I do want to know what it is that you're working on. I am going a bit heavy over the legs here, so what I'm going to do is just going to keep my eye on it. I'll just wet my finger, and I can just literally rub the paint away from the edge of his thighs. That works really quite well. Nice. 3 down. Staff says, I have some. Yeah, it seems to be a popular choice. Darren says, I used Liz's hairdryer to run a forge. She wasn't happy. Easy 8 wrong choices club. Keston says, I'm painting scenery. Is that your Battletech scenery that you've been communicating with me over on Facebook for a while? We had a little chat about colour choices, didn't we? And trying to match them to the idea that you had and to the battle mat that you bought, and with a little bit of, like, you know, just suggestions back and forth. I think you matched it in absolutely perfectly. Wonderful job, well done. Chris says, I'm hard at work on a card deck. Working on a card deck? You're painting, like you're making a card deck, or are you building a card deck in a game? Cool. I'm interested. Stafford says, German tanks! I has more dunkly yellow. Dunkly yellow. Yep, had to say it when Chris was in the room. Jeff says, stop, Staff. Just stop. Oh, and still going, Kes. Oh yeah, cool, brilliant. Yeah, stick a photo up if you wouldn't mind over on Facebook so that everyone can see, because it's really worth having a look. If you've got a picture of the battle map, because I know that it's not actually with you right now, it's in a place where you go gaming. If you've got a photo of it, stick that up as well so people can see what a great job you've done matching those colours in. Gone a bit too heavy on that one there, but that's okay. This one here in the past I've gone a bit too close to the leggy bit. 4 down. Okay, cool. A third of the way through. Is that right? No, it's a quarter of the way through. Yep, that's why I went back to school to do my maths. I think what I need to do is clean the brush out. Brush is getting too dry. That is possible with a dry brush, like I say. You don't want it to be completely dry because paint starts to build up in it. That's when it starts to affect the results that you're getting quite quickly, quite badly as well. I want that chalky effect, but it's something that I've sought to avoid ever since I started to really sort of look at my painting skills and techniques and things. This one here needs a lot more stain work on his yellow. I think I probably either missed this one out. I remember like staining them all, like, I think twice. Like I did one batch of staining and it didn't work well. So me and my partner sat out one evening watching TV with a big old paintbrush, like a really big one, like a tank brush, and just slapping the Agrax Earthshade on. And this what might be one that we missed, perhaps, because this one looks really pale and all his details are not really well defined. So that's something that I can do a little bit later, so I can just pick up those ones that I feel need a bit more attention to their detail and give them some more detail. What I'm trying to not do is get hung up on you know, just the little things. I could sit there all day and pick it apart, but it's a tiny little model, so it's a part of a horde. You don't look at it that closely, you know. Anyway, let's give this paintbrush a bit of a wash out. I am building a card deck, says Chris. Oh, okay, cool. In what game? Imagine me painting a card deck. Good God, no. I don't know, you might have been commissioned for it. You might be like painting some artwork for someone and their new project. Staff says, Jeff, I need spares for when you come to play. That's my excuse. Yeah, Staff's been on this thing lately where he's just trying to get people to come and play Water Tanker with us. It was a good game the other day though, wasn't it? Everyone turned up for our game. We thought, right, let's just play a little one with little tanks. Let's just have a little bit of fun. So we sat down with a couple of tanks each, and the game went on all night. We lost our first tank, all of us, straight away, and then our little tanks after that, like our lone tanks, just kept on going. Oh, I took on a KV-2, which is a big Russian tank with a really big gun on it, and a Panzer IV, which is big enough when you're in a tiny little Matilda too. Three-way battle. I came second. I shouldn't have done, but do you know what? Matilda's got quite a bit of armor, can take quite a bit of punishment. Puny little gun, but I wasn't doing bad with that either. I was crippling things up. Great fun, great fun. I think I deserve to win that. But actually, what I was saying to the guys at the time is I think we all deserve to play. We all deserve to win that. We're all playing really well. It's one of those games where I don't think if anyone had lost, I don't think anyone would have been unhappy about it. But Staff won. Staff won with his Panzer IV. I got one move where I positioned myself almost perfectly, almost a full rotation on the turret, drove past him, was going to shoot him in the back. I had it all lined up, and all I needed was just some good dice, and it was all lining up because shooting in the back is really good. And then I rolled a double one, which means you lose everything and your turn's over instantly. You lose your acquire, you lose your aim, you fire your round, but nothing happens, so you have to reload as well. And I was already like pretty shot up, so yeah, it was never going to go well for me at that point. And then it didn't, because the game was over in about 2 turns after that. So yeah, but it went on for hours. We started playing at about 8:30, and it was 11:30 when we started packing the table up. And yeah, normally a game will last about half an hour at that sort of scale. A couple more comments coming in. Jeff says, Darren will play with you. Okay, start sending people over, why not? I won, just saying. Yeah, you did. It was a good game. Normally Stafford takes the really big German stuff. And that's easy to hound with lots of little things. And as long as you're savvy, you can keep the little things alive. in the wrong place at the wrong time, and you know, a king tiger or a yak panther will ruin your day, and your game will be short. Sometimes you can just be lucky. I have won by shooting out a couple of tigers with small tanks. I've won with a little Stuart, tiny little tank, against a Yag Panther and a bunch of other stuff at the same time, but solely chasing down that by myself. My little Stuart. Brilliant fun. Cool, working my way through these quite quickly. I didn't expect to be getting through all this stuff quite so fast. But it's boring or as painstaking as this can be. You've got to keep on going, otherwise you'll just never get through it all. And this is just that you've got to find that motivation. Once you get into it, it's quite easy, isn't it? It's like writing a letter. I never write like joy starting to write letters, but once that pen's moving, it all starts to come along quite nicely. Just got to get started. Just got to know where you're at, where you're going. Don't worry about how to get there. Have a go. Get the paint going. Get the paint flowing. Maybe that can be my new catchphrase. Get your paint flowing. Trying to catch those edges a bit more, but without trying to smear too much paint all over the darker bits. I might come in on some of them, or maybe all of them, and hit just the edges with a little bit of Nuln oil later on, just to make them stand out just a little bit more. Knowing that my bigger creatures have quite defined black bits now, although I'm looking at them and they're actually not that bad. That's okay actually. Oh, do you know what, I might leave it, who knows. See how I feel at the time. You know me, sometimes I can't resist a little bit of impulse. Just getting out of paint off this tissue here. Jeff says, can't finish your bocage yet. My fret saw died. Sad it was. Oh, I'm so sorry. Did you have a little ceremony for it and everything? What happened to it? Did the motor die, or is the blade snapped, or has it been a bit more? Did you lose a finger? You lost a finger, didn't you? You know, bocage staff, that's where the big German tanks go to die. Yes, it is. We talked about it actually. Bocage, I believe, named after a village and the area in France, which is renowned for having lots of high hedges and narrow roads. The town being, or the village being called Villers-Bocage. Village of Bocage. Villers-Bocage. I think that's what it is. Am I correct in that? I don't think anyone was really ready for it either, because the Allied forces were mostly made of Americans at the time, and didn't experience that, didn't know about that, and then obviously the Germans were finding it difficult there as well. But the Americans were very ingenious and just welded great big hedge cutters to the front of their tanks, which wasn't actually as easy as it might have been made out to be. Just weld some metal choppy features to the front of your tanks. There's actually a couple of documentaries that you can see potentially on Netflix, or maybe it's just on YouTube somewhere. But actually the tank companies had quite a bit of trouble doing that. It wasn't an easy thing to do, and every single one was different because it was all just like random bits of spare bits of metal lying around. Gonna see if I can get a little bit of moisture in my brush, so I'm literally gonna put a drop of water on my finger on the piece of tissue. I'm gonna sneeze, bear with me. Bless me. So yeah, put a little drop of water on the piece of tissue here with my finger, and then I just wipe the bristles of the brush into it, and that is just enough to keep those bristles moistened. When you do that, just be careful. Like, take the first couple of strokes of the brush on, something subtle or on the back of your hand, because it will make quite a bit of difference. That paint will start shifting quite quick, and you could end up spoiling what you're painting. I think if I was painting brand new miniatures like this, I would probably be, I'd make it a bit more time consuming, and I wouldn't be dry brushing so much. But because these are all like quite old and haggard models, and they've just been sat there waiting for such a long time, like I say, I'm quite keen just to kind of get them to a finished state. So if these were new Tyranids out of a box, I probably would take my time a little bit more with them. Staff says apparently repurposed metal tank tracks worked really well. Oh, right, nice. There'll always be one tank left over with no tank tracks, and a bunch of guys going, how am I supposed to drive now? A bit dusty, that one. The paint's going chalky as I dry brush. Okay. Trying to keep my sanity. Cool. How many have I got left to go? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We are now, what? Halfway? Just over halfway. Check that out. Nice. I am going to wash my brush out again. The Brits were having a tea break at the time, not fair fighting. Oh, I see. I've missed a couple of comments here. Jeff says, yep, Michael Whitman and his 3 Tigers really messed up British armour unit in Villas Bocage. Oh, tank traps. I see what you're saying, Staff. Yeah, so repurposed tank traps. Yeah, that sounds familiar. The Brits were having a tea break at the time, not fair fighting. Right, I see. Lost your sanity when you decided to paint a Nid Horde. Yeah, I suppose. I'll accept that. When was the last time you beat my Nid Horde, though? Oh, it's fighting talk, that is. I was actually getting beat quite a bit towards the end of my, I'm going to call it a 40k stint. I haven't played 40k for quite some time now. But yeah, there was a time when I was unstoppable, and then other people just got better. You develop your tactics and your favourite strategies and your maybe favoured army lists and whatever, and use it often enough, and eventually your opponent will be wise to it when they... I think that's what was happening, is that my opponents were just getting better. And I became a bit too reliant on old stuff. Those legs free from grey. Cool. Not too many to go. How is your painting coming on this evening? If you are working on something, are you having a good evening with it? Is it a relaxing evening? Or are you stressing? Are you getting things wrong? Or you don't know what you're doing? Are you struggling over there? Or are you just actually just getting through loads of stuff? Is it all working today? I know Kez has got like triple figures worth of Battletech figures at the moment, but how much terrain have you got? Have you got lots of it? Have you nearly got it all done, or have you got? Is it at the end nowhere in sight? Are you painting those tanks today, Stafford? Or are you still making them? Oh, got your eyebrow. Oh, that's better. This is going to be one of those ones that's going to need a little bit of Nuln Oil on it. I think I might, just for the sake of consistency, I might go over all of them. Just make sure that they've all got a little bit of definition between their chitin plates. Chitin is the right word, I think. Like beetle armor, isn't it? Chitin. Yeah, he's gonna need some black on him. 5 more to go. And then I've got to go back to them all again and then do the slightly more laborious task of highlighting edges. So I feel like so refreshed after last week's show. The fact that I actually managed to finish a model on the show was quite extraordinary, really. And I feel like I've kind of got this new, bout of energy. Like I can do it. I can finish something on the show. It does look like I'm making progress because I'm still surrounded by projects that are half done or close to being finished, but not. And that's just the journey of exploring my mind over the last few months, this previous year, and working on being a better manager at work. I've discovered that I have ADHD, and that that's a massive tell of this condition, is that I have all these things that I start with the best of intentions, but like here underneath the camera you can't see, it's just filled with projects that are so close to being completed. So yeah, I've just got to make sure that I entertain that part of my mind, and make sure that I do come back to it. So it's nice to actually have something finished from last week. Cool, just a few more to go. Staff says, yep, painting them with Dunky Yellow. Kizza says, I have 4 more pieces to do from the 25 bits of scenery I bought a while back. Oh, okay, so that's quite a bit of scenery, that, isn't it? So a nice amount. Let's bring all these tangents over here now that I can fit them all over. Cool. You can see them all on the camera now. Yeah. Right, so the last 4 to go. I'm just going to get a bit of moisture again into the bristles of my brush. Actually, I could do with another clean out. I'm on the last 4, aren't I? So yeah, let's do it. Oh, I've got a bit runny nose. Using the brush cleaner quite a bit here because it's not really a dry brush that I'm using here. It's a bit of a tatty one as well. Just has a nice size and shape and a softness, really. And but the paint wants to dry in it pretty tough. It creates quite a texture to the bristles, and obviously the more paint that dries in it, the more paint will then start to dry on top of that, and it gets away with itself quite quickly. The easiest way to do that is to hit it with some brush soap regularly, making sure that I'm getting in there thoroughly and just lodging all that dry paint. rinse out. Back to being nice and soft. And a little bit damp as well. Darren says, gotta go guys, have fun. See you again Darren, thanks for stopping by. Take care. And on that note, we should probably consider taking a few minutes out for a break. We're not going to go just yet, so you can get yourselves ready if you need to. Right, I'm going to do this one here, and then we'll probably go. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give that paint pot a bit of a shake because I take it from the lid. There's that little scoopy bit of the lid, isn't there? And I like to take the bits of paint from that once it's all been mixed up. I pretty much used all that up. So there we go, pop that there. There we go. Clean brush and moist brush. Hopefully now, yep, straight away the dry brushing is working much better. I'm so glad I saw that video on YouTube of Artis Opus talking about having not a dry brush. You know, your dry brush needs to be slightly damp. That the term dry brush is actually, you know, it's a misspeak, if you will. It's not accurate. And I would never have known that. And it avoids all the problems that I've never liked with dry brushing that stops me from using it so much. That chalky appearance that as it starts to build up over your model is all down to paint drying in the bristles and not being able to transfer onto your model so well. I think I'm starting to rush it a little bit on these last few ones here, and I'm starting to kind of smear that grey a bit too much into the darker edges in an attempt to get through them quicker. So yeah, I'm definitely going to have to cut in with some nuln a little bit later. Like I say, that's alright, that's okay. Right, well, with 3 more to go, I will come back and I'll do those straight away after the break. But before I go, we've got a couple more comments going in. Michael Turner says, wow, literally watched the same video 3 days ago. I was getting ready to show off my mad new dry brushing skills. Hi Mike, thanks for coming along. Haven't seen you for a while on the show. Yeah, dry brushing today. I haven't done any dry brushing for ages, but you showed me some pictures a little while ago of the large space marine that you're painting with some dry brushing skills, and it's blended beautifully. And I would be really excited if you shared some of your pictures on the Easy 8 Facebook page, because they're looking really, really cool. That's one of the new McFarlane toys, like the action figure Space Marines, and about 12 inches tall, maybe a bit taller than that. They're really well detailed as well, and people are just painting them all the time. It looks brilliant. Well done, Mike. They look really cool. Yeah, I'm going to take a quick break. I think I'm going to go make another cup of tea, and then I'm going to come back and finish off this dry brushing here. I should probably wash this brush out again, shouldn't I? Because I'm going to stop for a second. Anyway, whatever it is that you're doing right now, if you're going to go take a break, now's the time to go and do it. And while you're away, you should definitely, and I never do, go change your paint water. See you in a few. welcome back. I actually went and had a break and actually changed my water. I did go get another cup of tea. Do you ever get to the point where you've had too much caffeine in one day? I think I've done that. So yeah, I just took my eyes away from painting for a minute and told my cat, who was scratching at the door, to please go away. Yeah, hope you're having a good evening. It feels like a slow one, but it's not. I'm actually being very productive today. In the fact I'm just getting through that monotonous chore of a painting, episode. It's just one of those things. I don't mean an episode as like an episode of Easy 8, although it is. It's just one of those things you just got to do sometimes. You just got to get through the slog of it. Yeah, and we'll get there eventually. Anyway, I'm going to take you straight back over to the workbench because that's where a lot of this stuff's going on. Remember, if you are new here, don't forget to subscribe, like, follow, share, tell your friends all about us. Make the community bigger and worthwhile. Anyway, let's head on over to the workbench. Here we go. So, yeah, I've just got these last 3 to do. I'm just trying to take my time with them so I don't cover up all of the sort of shading or the washing that's been done on them, or trying to get too much on the yellow at the same time. I'm trying to work from this direction, but it is a little bit difficult. That direction is against the edges of the plates and working my way up, so I start off heavier at the edge of the plate, and then as I get towards the other plate, I suppose, it gets a bit lighter. It's sort of working. It's a bit more difficult than that when I'm not being very diligent. Anyway, got 2 more to go. This one's got like a little spot of yellow on there where I think some of the paint may have chipped away. And you can see there's all sorts of artifacts all over them from just being not very tidy miniatures, but it doesn't really matter. There's some comments going in during the break there. So Jeff says, Marder, that's the German tank I was trying to think of the other day. Do you have Marders? That's the Staff. Staff says, yeah, I think I have one. Is that the one that's based on the 38T chassis, like the Hetzer? Yes, but sort of open-topped. Yes, so the very early German tanks that I think were stolen from Czechoslovakia, weren't they then just kind of doctored and just hashed up and just put lots of really big German weapons in as just sort of a carrier for anything that the Germans had, extra of, like in terms of weapons? So like the 38T was like very early, and I think they just kind of cut the top off and stuck a really big gun in the top. I've actually been working on a couple of 15mm Hornissa, which is basically the precursor to the Nashorn. They're almost identical. I think like the Nashorn's got a little bit more armor plating at the front, in front of the cannon, but they're built on a Panzer IV chassis, and then they stuck a King Tiger 88mm cannon in there. And that's so big, it's actually from the breech to the muzzle is longer than a Sherman. I measured it myself. It's huge. So yeah, they used to take all sorts of liberties with like old tank chassis and things that they didn't really use, but they had them there because obviously they occupied Czechoslovakia, so they took over their foundries, their factories, and their existing army, so they had it there, but obviously they thought that their guns were better, chop the top off of it, turn it into a big assault gun. Okay, the last 2 to go. Here we are. I'm going to try and be careful and not rush them because as I'm kind of moving on here, it's making me feel like I can. I just got a little splodge of paint right in the base of the bristles there. Don't want that to come off on the models. Okay. I think ideally this brush is probably a little bit too big for doing these tiny little miniatures. So if I was to do this again, I would probably use a smaller brush, but like I say, the quality of these models isn't anything for me to get too fussy about in terms of the brush quality or size or anything like that. So I'm not gonna get hung up on it. One of those things that can really hold me back is starting to worry about all those little things, Also, do tell me, is the zoom quality Is the focus? Is it all good today? Because I am very aware that it's all looking very small on the screen today. And if you can see it all, that's fine. If you're happy, do let me know if it isn't very good. Music's a bit loud in my headset, but that could just be in my headset, so I can turn that down. There we go. Let's just knock that down a little bit. Ouch. I turned it up actually when I took my headset off my break, so that's why that's gone loud. Let's bring that down a notch. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, Staff says, yeah, I've got one of those. It's only Diddy. Yeah, it's a little tank. It's the Marder. Got a huge gun in it though. Okay, there we go. Last one. And you can see what I've done with this is a sludge wash of null oil all over the top. I was really not being very kind to these models at all. And of course, since then, I have really refined that process of, doing the carapace on them. And it's been a bit of a journey, a bit of an adventure, but it was definitely worth it. But it does mean, of course, that as you develop, you're going to have models, in the past that you're not so proud of anymore, or they stand out really quite different from everything that you've got so far, or that you've worked up to. So, do you go back over those models and bring everything up to speed? Because that could potentially be a lot of work, right? As you get better, the quality in your painting is going to change, right? I think what it's going to pay for me to do with these is just get through them as quickly and efficiently as I can, and then I might do like at the end of it, I'll do a quality control, like a little snag list, if you will, and be like, okay, these ones need a little bit of tidying up on the yellow, these ones need a little bit of cleaning up on this detail or whatever, and that might be just a little way of satisfying the ADHD in me. Which, if you know anything about ADHD, you'll notice pretty much shares a lot of attributes with OCD. Not that I have OCD, terrible affliction that, but it has elements of it, which prevents me from, cracking on. I think I'm done. Okay, that's that part of that project done there. Leave it, Danny. Crikey. Right, let's clean that brush out. Let's put this Dawnstone away for a minute. I'm going to put it over here. I don't want it right now. And I'm going to come back to Administratum Grey. Wash this brush out, don't want that paint sitting in there and drying. It's dry brushed after all, so it will dry pretty crusty and very quickly. Let's get rid of that. I've got a raggy tissue here for cleaning brushes out, and I've got this other one on the side for slightly more neater sides of the project. Okay, you can see, or I don't know if you can see it on the focus of the brush here, but there's like a line that's darker across the top of the bristles here, and that's where all that paint's drying in there, and that will build up and build up, a snowball effect, if you will. And water will only get rid of so much, so it's really important to have a brush cleaner, especially if you've got semi-decent brushes at the very least. Soak it all up, get it in there, and already I can see it agitating grey. When I push down on there, I can see grey paint already wanting to come out. I like to work it backwards and forwards without trying to damage the bristles too much. I wouldn't do this a lot with my very expensive brushes. I'm trying to work it into the ferrule, the pinch point here where all the bristles are being held, and it'll build up in there as well, and that will splay the bristles out more than anything. See all that grey paint just pouring out of there. Nice clean brush, please. Lovely. Right, let's move away from that brush for a minute. Let's go back to some of the earlier models. I don't remember which ones I did first. They're all kind of together here. What's this one? He looks alright, doesn't he? So, what's that done? That has softened down the very dark carapace parts where it was almost black in most cases. It's picked out the edges and sort of feathered it in, sort of giving it a bit of a blending effect. Spitting a bit when I'm talking. What I'm going to do now, I don't think I'm going to dry brush, I'm literally just going to pick out some of the edges, a lot of the bottom edges of the plates, and the centre ridges, and then I might in some cases try and like find some of the little cracks that this one doesn't actually have, and he's got a tiny little split here sculpted into that bit. I'm going to try and like, you know, identify that to make it look like it's a bit of more of a crack, and then do some of the fake lines, you know, the sort of fake splits in there, and that should make him pop a little bit more. Yeah, let's see how long it takes me to do one, and then can I go faster? Do I need to go slower? Chris says when you have ADHD, you're getting distracted, and that's just that is just a rule by having it. Yes, yeah, you get distracted by a distraction, and then that distracts you, and then that distracts you. You've been distracted from your distractions, and before you know it, you've forgotten why you came in the room. I'm the only person I know who can have 6 conversations at the same time, be the only person in the room. It's mental, and that is not an exaggeration. It's crazy. Right, so I'm just going to give this Administratum Grey a good old shake, even though I did shake it a minute ago. And just for staff, because he likes it when I do it, I'm going to pop it on the Easy 8 Wazomatic. Let's give it a bit of a stir. It's been sat there for a while, and we all saw at the beginning of the show that it was virtually black. It had separated. It's been sat there for ages. Right, here we go. Administratum Grey. This is quite a bit brighter, so I don't know what brush to use, so I might, because they're quite a small one, I'm going to come in with my number 0. I really liked using my number 2 Kalinsky, but of course that was the only Kalinsky I had at the time, and this has turned into my little workhorse. So yeah, here I go. I am going to, I might actually take a big splodge of this and just pop it in my palette, because I want to thin this down. Now I could pop some flow improver in there, I'm not going to bother with that, I'm just going to add a little bit of water, just to help thin it. It's not like I'm doing, you know, ridiculous quantities of this. I'm not going to be going like vast surfaces or anything. It's literally the tiniest bits of edge highlighting on really tiny models, so I don't want to like go mental with all that sort of stuff. Anyway, here we go. Wiped a little bit off on the tissue on the side there, because I don't want it to be a flooded brush. And I'm just going to start on this corner here. Let me know again if it's not zoomed in far enough for you, because I am quite a distance away. Just going to pick that edge out there. Now the previous dry brushing has picked out a lot of these edges already, so I'm trying to hold back a little bit. And I'm trying to find that happy space between too slow or too fast. If I go too slow, I'll be here forever. And remember, this is 1 out of 16 models. I don't want to be stuck here forever doing this. But of course, if I go too fast, then I'm going to ruin the whole thing. That's nice. Took me a minute there to get that paint to cover on there for a second. The paint could actually do with a little bit more water in it, just a tiny amount. And there is a sweet spot to how much water goes into it for it to start flowing really nicely. My concentration voice again. There we go. Let's get a bit more water in that paint. Let's mix that in. This is what I call could call it the good, the bad and the ugly, but is it the good, the bad, the time efficient, the good, the bad and the fine margin between failure and success? I've got to try and work out what's better for me, what's better for the model. There we go. I've got a good bit of speed coming along now. What I don't want this to be is just looking like a standard edge highlight. I don't want that at all. I want this to look like it is a part of the pattern. Benefit me right now to have a wet palette, but I don't have enough space on my desk for that at the moment. Despite having a huge desk, I have managed to fill it with everything. Okay, we can see on there that I've done a pretty good job of that, but that was quite slow, so can I get faster? What I'm going to try and do now is just make a couple of little sort of lines on each plate. Yeah, that looks really good. Okay, cool. Again, got to keep that brush nice and clean. So after every couple of minutes, I'm just cleaning the brush out. Get that old paint out, load it back up with a nice watered down amount, and then carry on. Make sure I've got a nice fine point to the bristles. This takes me back to doing all the big monsters a little while ago. Oh, painstaking journey of learning how to do all of that. Couple of little bony vertebrae things that stick out the back down there. Just kind of pop a little bit of light grey on them. I haven't really done much with grey on them because they're so small and, like I say, crappy little models really, so I haven't really bothered with them, but stick a little bit of light grey on them, it makes them stand out a little bit. More comments going in, just stuff going, Wazomatic. Yeah, I know you love it, mate. Chris says, no, you come into a room, have over 15 ideas and thoughts, become one with space and time, and as soon as you're done with daydreaming, you already forgot why you're in the room. Yeah, 3 days later. Crazy. Oops, what I've done there is I ruined that. Went in a bit too heavy-handed there. That's okay. I want them to have a couple of little lines on the front edges as well. Like that, there we go. Well, that looks a bit rubbish, so maybe I won't do that on the next one. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to try and keep it sweet and simple on the legs and on the arms because the plates are so small. There's no need for all that sort of excessive detail, the lines and things. So what I'm going to do is just highlight the main edges of these plates, and on the larger the plates, I might do a couple of directional lines, perhaps. There's a little chip in that one there, so I'll make sure I pick that one out.
Whew. Take a mouthful of paint staff and blow it caveman style. It works, trust me. I wish I had an airbrush. It becomes a hobby into itself. So if you are considering getting one, enjoy the process of, you know, finding what's best for you. It can get quite expensive, but you know, it's a hobby. Most hobbies are expensive. But there are some affordable alternatives out there as well. And if you're just doing like base painting and things like that, then you can get the little handheld compressors. They for like just getting like a colour down, it seems to be enough, you know, for the people that I've seen using them. I'm not worrying about getting on the inside of the leg to highlight that armour plate in there at all. In fact, I couldn't care less about that. So, yeah, I'm going to move straight on over to the other side here. And I'm going to start picking out these little plates over here. Oh, that's a good speed. That's what I want it to be like. Probably a bit heavy on the old highlighting there. I don't like to have sharp corners on the insides of my highlighted edges, so I do like to try and round those off. And the heavier you go, the more bold that line will appear, and it will make your corners look even more jagged. And when you're trying to be like making natural lines and things, having like a right angle jaggedy line looks really out of place. Didn't do a very good job on that, but that's okay. I'll get better as I go. I'm going to come in and just pick this leg out a little bit better, as I went in quite heavy on the other side, and it's making it stand out quite a bit more. Okay, cool. I have discovered something though. I'm going to just take just a second out, because what I really could do with here is a painting handle, and I do have one. Just got to remember where it is. Here it is. Cool. So I've got this is a Rolston. This isn't like one of those GW ones or anything like this at all. And there's lots of little holes in the top where you can put little pegs. They're not magnetic at all. You just put them in where you want to. Add a bit of sideways pressure, and it clamps everything into place. And what I have found as well is that this handle can unscrew from there, so if that's a bit too much, that you could just hold it like this, which is what I'm going to try right now. But I do just need to find the little pins. I've got a whole tray of them. Here we go. So these little things here, let me just take this little thing apart. I'm only going to need like 3 or 4. Don't roll away. Let's go with 4 for a minute, because that seems like a nice number to go with. I'm just going to flick them all over the table. Stay in there. Naughty. Right. Okay. So I have a little look at roughly where I want the model to be. Okay, so I'm gonna, if I went with that hole there, and that hole there, that one, and that one, that will sit quite tidily around the outside of the model, hopefully. I feel that I might want him to be a little bit closer to one edge, so I could move all the pins up if I wanted to. I might start that way, perhaps. That sounds like a bit more of a better thing to do, doesn't it? So if I did that, popped him in here like this. And don't want to go crazy with the tension, but now he stays in there quite tidily like that. There we go. So now I've got something I can hold on to without having to like cramp my hands of holding onto a tiny little base and getting worried about like rubbing paint off of the model. So make sure I've got the right brush. Here we go. Cool. A bit of water in that paint. That nice and runny. Got some little dust particle stuck in my brush there. Okay. So where was I? Finished the legs, finished the back. Let's move on to the gun. Much easier to hold. I've had this little handle for ages and ages, and I've been meaning to get it out for a while, but the models I've been painting up to now have been much bigger than this, so I've always been able to just kind of like make do. But this is a tiny little miniature, yeah, and it requires a handle. Not too fussed about getting like right into the, you know, the tiny details and recesses and things like that. Getting a couple of cracks and a couple of splits on just here and there. Still on the first miniature, so you can see that I need to speed up a little bit here. Staff says that the paint doesn't taste very nice for using his mouth as an airbrush. Don't swallow, you fool. Is that where I've been going wrong all this time? It's a family show, gents. It's the family show. Easy ain't risque club. Oh, not painting some very good lines on there, am I? Okay, cool. Do you know what? I'm just going to leave that. Doesn't matter. And now I'm going to go to the head, and we're done on this one here. Oh, no, still got his claws. Still got his claws to do. Okay, that's fine. I'm going to do his claws now. He's got a little spare on the back of his heel. Let's pick that out. I'm just going to do like the edge and the point and make sure there's a little bit something on there. Okay, we can see that. Feet are quite hidden, so I'm not gonna like go in with too much detail. Just want to pick those edges out a little bit. That might be a bit too not subtle enough because I wasn't able to get in with all the dry brushing on them. So yeah, if I'm going to just pick out edges, I want to be really gentle with it, I think, so it doesn't look too contrasty. With the claws, I want to make sure that I'm picking out the points on them. Because the grey in that instance, like the highlight colour, makes them look like they've got more of an edge. It makes them look nice and sharp and pointy. Okay, not going to fuss too much, remember. This is going to be a slower process than what I have been doing, but I want it to be faster. So I've got to try and find out what works well, and stick at it and refine it as I go. So onto the head then for the last little bit. Pick out those edges. And to keep the miniature comfortable in my hands, I'm going to work on one side and then I'm going to go on to the other side over here. Jeff says, whatever happened to all those bugs I made bat wing for you years and years ago? Spent a whole week making little bat wings. I've got them in a box. I don't use them at the moment because after that edition disappeared, you couldn't have wings on those particular creatures, so that they were, I suppose, redundant. But I really liked them, so I've still got them. You never know, in an upcoming edition you might be able to take wings on all your creatures again. But yeah, I've got loads. I've got flying rippers, I've got flying warriors, I've got flying hormagaunts. Now you couldn't have hormagaunts with wings, but you could have gargoyles, and I remember at the time they only had the white metal gargoyles, and I didn't like them. But I wanted to have gargoyles, but I had a load of like leftover chopped up bits of bodies of hormagaunts, enough to make a squad of them. They're not called squads in the game, they're called broods. But you know what I mean. Brush needs a bit of a clean. To keep going back to that, that's fine. Just got to be patient and just got to keep on doing that. You can't skimp on cleaning the brush. Keeping that paint nice and moist so that it transfers onto the model nice and easy. Struggling to get it to go on that one. I think because the texture actually on the paint already is a bit too much, so it's struggling to flow nicely. Okay, I've got the edges done. I just kind of want to put some lines on there now, don't I? So start from the back, I think. Done. Okay, clean that brush out. Undo the clamp. Out he comes. He can go to my done pile, which I will put. Where will I make my done pile? I could move my purge pot for my airbrush. Don't need that right here. Create a little bit of space over here. He can go there. Okay, cool. That's his carapace done. 15 more to go. Pow, let's move on to this bad boy. There's a part of me that wants to reposition this on here because that wasn't so easy to maneuver around here. So what I might do is I'll move that one to there, and that one to there, and is that going to be okay? Let's see. If I position the tail over there, then it's not going to be in the way. Let's give that a go. That little pin's not doing anything there, is it? How's it going to find that? Let's put it in there. There we go. Nice and snug. Cool. Just as you can pull all the wings off then, shame. No, I'm going to leave them on there because, say, those models, they were like bits and pieces left over. I didn't have enough weapons and whatever, not enough limbs. So the addition of wings on them and the positions that you put them in, it was perfect for that project. And also, do you know what? It's nice to have them, and I like them, so I'm going to keep them. Also, you don't know in the future. Like I say, that an addition might come up where I get to use them again, or I might just write my own rules in because it's fun to do so, right? I'm not going to get rid of them just because of that. Did we try making a bug assassin as well when you were younger? No rules for that either, I suppose. No, they've made no rules for that. They have similar sorts of creatures in there, but yeah, I used to use it as like, what happens if a Tyranid fleet gets hold of like a souped up assassin? Does it kind of learn stuff about it? Does it kind of take pointers? It probably would, and would make something quite nasty. I think I've still got that as well somewhere, don't know where that might be. Okay, on to here. I'm going to work my way up this side. I'm going to start at the back and work forwards. Trying to learn from the previous model, just trying to be a bit faster. But you know, just trying to try my best to keep it as tidy as I can. I remember when I first did my first couple of Horma gaunts like this, and I did a really rushed job on it, but it looked okay. And I remember someone commenting on a Facebook forum, you know, wondering what had possessed me to do all this really fine detail work on them. But I actually hadn't done any fine detail work on it. It was just like well-placed brush strokes, very quick, and a little bit of dry brushing. So it goes to show you that to someone who hasn't seen it all the way through, you don't have to have a ton of work to make it look really cool. It's all about giving an impression, isn't it? If you've got some brushstrokes going in the same, in the same direction, they all look like what I'm doing right now. But I did want to make it look a little bit tidier. Just like that, really. Owen Downey's concentrating because he's not talking. And I'm sure there's something in there about ADHD and focus. Neat little lines on each plate there, just to kind of give the impression that there's some splits or cracks in it, but when it all together it looks really cool. What I'm not entirely happy about is how starkly that stands out, even with all the dry brushing I did earlier on. And what I want to try and do is just knock these corners out a little bit. So I just fill those in, just like that, rounds them off a little bit. And then I can feather it in if I want to, but that is just too much work for this tiny little model, so I'm trying to be careful with that. So far that's going a little bit smoother than the other one I've just done, so that's pretty good. Coming up to the end of the show, so yeah, if you've got anything that you want to say or add, now's probably a good time to consider spilling the beans. You don't have to, of course. Of course, in the schedule I did write, am I going to finish these? I didn't mean tonight. I know that there's a lot of work in this, and it would be very, very ambitious for me to get all of these models with my record. Getting all of these painted in the space of tonight. Could you imagine? This side here's got a bit more the lighter grey on there, so this one doesn't look so bad. Round that corner off, there we go, nice. Bit more paint. This one's got a little chip in it, so I'm just going to make sure I've got enough paint on the tip of my brush. I'm just going to try and pick that little crack out. Painting down either side of it makes a bit of a shoddy triangle, and then from the tip of that triangle I just draw a line, and then make sure that where that line matches up to the tip of that triangle is all nice and smooth. Round out the corners at the base, and it looks like that chip is splitting all the way. Lovely. Cool, that's the back done there. Right, see if I can just highlight that bottom plate a bit more. That's a bit better. Yeah, I'm not entirely keen on how well the mid grey on this one hasn't really blended off too much. It looks like a really dark grey with like light edges, and I didn't really want that. But like I say, I'm not really too fussed at this stage. Something I can come back later on and fix en masse. It could be like a part of my snag list. Right, on to the legs. couple more comments going in. Staff says, I hate painting Donkey Yellow. I love painting Donkey Yellow, but I suppose I use an airbrush. I find it a very satisfying colour to paint. You could do some early grey tanks. Yeah, we could. You could do some early grey tanks, especially if you've got things like the Mardu, which I think was quite early, wasn't it? I did paint a tiger up, a 28mm tiger in Panzer Grey, as a just playing around and experimenting. But as I was informed after I'd finished it, I don't think tigers were ever painted grey. They were so late war that they got rid of that colour scheme by that time, which of course does put flaws in Saving Private Ryan, which has 2 tigers painted grey. Connoisseurs will know straight away that those very clearly are not actual tigers. But still a good film nonetheless. But everything was painted grey in that film, and I don't think that they would have been. Michael says, I'm eyeing up a battery-powered airbrush by brand No Name, about £60. Yes, is that the one that's basically got the little compressor unit that basically becomes the handle, and then you put a little pot of paint underneath it, and it's like flow-fed rather than gravity-fed, like mine is. If it is that one, there's a couple of versions of it out there, and I've seen someone use it on YouTube on a painting channel on there, and they're just weren't getting much out of it, weren't trying to do incredible amounts of glorious work, but they were just doing base paints and stuff, and zenithal lighting and things like that, and it was really good. You don't have a lot of control over it, so trying to do really intricate work is quite difficult because of the lack of pressure control. So a single action trigger. And what I mean by a single action trigger, if I get my airbrush here, I'll just take it off the hose, it's a bit easier to handle. So this is my airbrush here. It has a double action trigger, so you push down for air to come out, and then you pull back to release more paint. The combination of the two and various adjustments allows you to have lots of paint coming out with a small amount of air, which means you'll get a large build up quite close, or you could put loads of air, push that all the way down and pull it back just a little bit, and you would get really fine amounts. So by blasting lots of air through and just putting a tiny amount of pressure on the paint, you get a bit of more of an opaque flow coming out. And of course the variations you get by being really close or really far away. By coming out really far, you get a large misting cone, but if you were to go really close, you'll get a real tight pin, so you could actually write on large surfaces with it, but you can also come away to do larger areas. But with these little handheld portable ones, it is literally push, paint comes out, so you don't have that double action, you don't have the sensitivity of it either. So it depends on what your use is for it. Be aware of that going into it. If you want to buy a setup like mine, you can also get different types of compressors. Mine's got a storage tank on it, which I would recommend if you want to get into airbrushing. It costs a little bit more, but it's an outlay that I don't think you'll be disappointed with. What will happen if you don't have a storage tank on it is that the compressor, when you're painting, it will push air through, which means that there might be a slight delay. You might get a little bit of air bubbling in there. I get that anyway, whatever. But it means that when you're pushing the button, air is cycling through. What my compressor does is it charges the tank up, fills that up with a certain amount of air, and then I'm using it from the reserve. When the pressure drops below a threshold, which is determined by the by the mechanics on the actual compressor itself, it then fills that tank up. At no point am I feeding from the compressor itself. It's all going into that storage tank, and it just gives you a bit more control, and it means that you've always got a reserve there as well. So if you have a power cut or anything like that, then you're not oh, I can't finish this. But of course, if you're painting with lights, that's probably a bigger issue. So yeah, but if you want to save money, you don't have to have that storage thing, and it is there is a considerable price difference on it as well. But like I say, if you just want to get like base colors down and things like that, then the little handheld one seems to be good. I will try and find the video that I found, and tomorrow I can put a link to the description of this in this video so that you can see if you want to, or just go and have a little look, see what you can find. It is worth it. And if you're interested, at the end of this evening we can chat about it in the Discord Easy 8 after party. I am at a point now where I think I'm getting to the end of this. This is a big lump of dry paint right on the end there. I'm just going to see if I can get that other leg done there before we disappear for the end of the night. Realised I'm painting in the reflection of the light, and it was really difficult to see what I was doing. I'm sure by the end of this I'll have this dialed right in and I'll probably really want to go back at that point. Right, what I'm just going to do now, I'm just going to just round those corners off there, just because I just don't like that when it makes a real sharp edge, a real sharp corner. It looks really rubbish and tacky. That's cool. And there is just a little bit too much contrast on this one. It goes from really light to really dark very, very quickly. So I can just spend a second there just feathering that inlet, just to help reduce that amount, because that will bother me. That's just one of those things. Okay, cool. That's his back and legs done. Let's do his head, his gun, and his little claws and hooves there. But I'll do that after the show and the Easy 8 after party. Let's come away from here. A productive evening. Feels like there's a lot to do because there's a horde army. It's going to be crazy. Just knuckling down and getting through it. And if you paint a horde army, you got to do it. Even if you're just painting a squad of 10 people, be it Skitari or be it Space Marines, or if you're painting up a couple of lances for BattleTech, there's always going to be that kind of that groundwork that you got to take your time and just get through. And this teaches patience, and for me to not want to throw my models all over the studio, because that's how I feel sometimes. But yeah, got to get through it. It's not all just an exciting one big model like my big Martian robot, which is great fun to paint. So yeah, I'm just going to crack on and carry on doing these this evening. I'm going to see how much of this I can get done over the week, so that coming back into it next week, I'm going to be doing those little fine details and maybe finishing them. I don't think I'm going to be able to finish them next week. It does depend on how much I get done over these next few days. I've got a couple of days off, early in the week as well, which will be really good. And my work season is coming to its end, so there's a lot less pressure on me at the moment as well, and I'm finding a lot more time at home, which has been really nice. It's been nice just to kind of spend some time at home as well, just pottering around. So yeah, once the carapaces are done, a few little like snags here and there perhaps, which won't take me very long at all. Pick up those details like eyes, teeth, maybe some like the creases between some of the joints, just because it's nice to paint those on there. Again, you might not see those being the casual observer, but myself, I know it's there and I'll want to do them. And then there's the bases, and the bases might take a little bit of time, because if you remember, I like to create a story with my base, and the things that I want to do with my Tyranids is to, on some of them here and there, I create little acid pools, and that might take a bit of time. I've got to relearn how to do those, because I've done them differently since the previous batch of them. And I also like to do like little bits of like alien plants and things on there as well. So I like to do like red vines. It ties in with my red weed thing. And also behind me, which you probably can't see right now, I was very lucky to find a store not very nearby, but near enough, where I went and bought some like aquatic, like a pond aquarium plants, which are normally very expensive from pet shops, but I found it in a department store. And I just found a couple of styles that I really liked and picked them up, and they are really, really quite affordable. And the idea is with those, I'm just going to oh, excuse me, hiccups. I'm just going to chop them up and like just kind of put some fronds here and there, so I just don't have these little putty vines that just kind of sit there and look a little bit awkward. And I paint them nice red colours, and they really stand out stark against the greys and the yellows with the rest of the creatures. But I just pick a few here and there to do, you know, little bits and pieces to kind of create that story on the base. So that in itself will probably be a whole evening, maybe a day's worth of work to do that, depending on how much preparation I get into it. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, if you've been working on a project this evening, do let me know what it is if you're so inclined. Drop a little picture up on the Facebook page, because we are on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're here on YouTube, obviously, and we're also on Discord, where you can come and join me after the show for a period of time. We could just chat away about stuff. We could chat about the state of the world at the moment, because that's going into hell in a handbasket, or we can come and talk about your models and what you're painting and stuff. Just kind of just generally chill out, because it's nice to do that, right? A couple of last comments that are going in here. Mike says that there is a YouTube airbrush channel by a guy down under who is an airbrush artist. He reviews them from time to time, says decent enough, though obviously not quite on the pro level, but I reckon good enough. Yeah, the video that I saw was a lady who has got into painting within the last few years. I went to pick one up, and she was quite, I think, new at it, and airbrushing. That was the first one she ever used. Understands, you know, the things with an airbrush, what to expect with it, and got quite good results out of it, from what I understand. I should imagine that there are going to be cheaper versions of that style of airbrush that you probably want to avoid. So I'd spend up to about £100 perhaps on that particular thing, paints and additional sort of, you know, sundries aside. But you know, £60-80 sounds like it could be a good deal. Perhaps if you're on the other side, the great big pond, maybe up to like $100-120 perhaps. I don't know, see what happens. If you do use it, I would be really interested to find out what it's like. And of course, if you live local to me, I can airbrush your stuff for you. There you go, Easy 8 airbrushing service. Airbrush Asylum, says Mike, is the channel. Okay, cool. I'll see if I can find a link and drop it in the chat as well. Staff says, is Cobberton still in the plans? Cobberton Combat Collection. Yes, I will plan that a little bit later on. At the moment, I'm just trying to get through a few bits and pieces at home. And it wasn't too long ago when we had our recent Easy 8 community excursion road trip. But it would be nice to do another one again soon, but more on that, getting into that later. Just says, more tanks then. Cobberton Combat Collection isn't just tanks. I think it's like lots of it's like guns and uniforms, and it's a wider expanding sort of museum collection rather than just being tanks. But I think they have a lot of vehicles there as well, because cool stuff, right? Anyway, that's enough from me this evening. I hope you've had a really good night. Don't forget to post your stuff on the Facebook page or on Discord. And until next week, stay safe, be kind, keep on painting. My name's Danny. See you soon. Cheers now. Bye bye.